Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night, friends and colleagues from across the world. Welcome to our third session of the spring symposium of the Academy of Oral Surgery. We have another very special guest, Dr. Henry Dietrich from Luxembourg. I grew up in Germany, so it's actually Dietrich. Dr. Henry, welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. I'm very honored to be with you here this afternoon and to show you my presentation about the pterygoid implants. And what's wonderful, we may touch all the colleagues all around the world. And thank you for this invitation, and thank you for the job you have done. That is really amazing. Compliments. Congratulations.
Okay. Thank you. We're honored to have you with us and honored in being an integral part of connecting doctors from across the world that can bring some value to our colleagues. As you know, atrophic ridges and the challenges that we encounter are being addressed by individuals, leaders like yourself, in finding alternative solutions such as these pterygoid implants that you will be talking about. But before we get into that, Doctor, I'd like to do a couple of housekeeping announcements for our colleagues. First and foremost, if you wish to get CE for this session, it's a 1-hour CE unit. Each session will be, and there will be a link at the end of the presentation where you can register to obtain your CE for watching this. Number two, we will have 3 different symposia this year. The next symposium will be in July 10 to 11. Mark your calendars, and November 6 to 7, where we will have 10 leading speakers from around the world bring us information and knowledge and products and services and techniques that will be of benefit for you. It's complimentary to watch. You are also welcome to go through the process of obtaining your CE. And last but not least, as a token of appreciation for our deep-rooted connection between our colleagues in the healthcare professions, we are going to be giving away a 1-year free membership to the Academy of Oral Surgery. The way you register, you go to oralsurge.org, and under the membership area, you can register to become a member and use the code Global Summits with an S at the end, and it will waive all of your fees. So let's get to know Dr. Dietrich a little bit more in detail. He is started in Luxembourg in '79, where he got his degree, and actually in Brussels in 1985, and a master's in dentistry. And he has been involved with the University of Paris and many other institutions. He did a thesis on the craniomandibular dysfunction and oral facial pain for his university diploma in personal injury. And he runs his own private practice in Luxembourg, as mentioned, since 1985. He's been practicing clinical crestal implantology since 1998 and clinical cortical implantology since 2001. And he is readily involved in treatment of craniomandibular dysfunctions. The reason we asked Dr. Dietrich to join us is to bring us some knowledge about alternative treatments to your conventional root form implants, where they may or may not be possible, or the patient is not in a position to do massive bilateral sinus lifts, for example, and things of that scenario, which are becoming hot topics around the world. So our colleagues have alternative tools in their toolbox to address this very issue. So just in brief, I've been following your work for years. You have probably trained thousands and thousands of doctors around the world in your time. What has given you the motivation to tackle this very challenge in your career and in your educational endeavors?
Well, you see, myself, I was always looking for solutions, and the best solutions are always a minimum for maximum, and that was the challenge. Because myself, I hate big surgeries, supporting it. I hate dentistry. I hate to be a patient. So I always was looking for solutions. And my solutions was, in my head always, do a minimum for maximum of result. And that was always in my brain. And that was motivation to find these solutions, actually.
That's lovely. Yeah, the solutions. I've had cases, where if everything else failed, I referred for these type of treatments. But now there are courses that are being taught to general dentists on how to do these procedures. Do you train a lot of general dentists in your educational endeavors?
Yes, I train. I train general dentists. I trained maxillofacials. I trained oral surgeons. So I train, let's say, all type of categories, because pterygoid implant, and especially the training for pterygoid implants, it's very rare to find places. Now, actually, I have my colleague in the States, Dan Holzclaff, who is let's say, we are in very close relationship, and he's doing in the States what I try to do here in Europe.
Excellent.
So, but the point is how it is not so popular, pterygoid implants. It is not popular because it is not trained. So it is not trained, and then on the other part, you must find the implants, because actually until now, industry did not produce it. So that has the two reasons.
Wow. So Dan Holtzclaw and actually yourself were part of the top 100 doctors classes, and Vishy Brahmand is also doing something similar with Norris Medical. I understand you're working with a certain implant group out of Europe, where there are essential design modifications made based on your personal recommendations.
Yes.
And I followed the root implant systems and some others. And maybe you can reflect upon certain configurations in the implants that are also necessary, because I understand some of the pterygoids have a different end to them in times of placement for your initial stability. But with that said, go ahead.
Yes, thank you. Let's enjoy.
With that said, we'll turn over to you, and I will be learning myself here in the background, very listening closely. Thank you, Dr. Dietrich.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. The pterygoid implant, is it an added value? Now that I did also different publications about this topic. And then you see what is the statistic about these implants, the rehabilitation of the atrophic posterior maxilla with pterygoid implant, the review. And finally, we have a high success rate. What are the key points? Pterygoid implant insertion is an alternative to avoid sinus lifting or other grafting procedures to treat the posterior maxilla. Pterygoid implants are especially used in partial or total edentulism in order to avoid distal cantilevers. And the placement of a pterygoid implant requires surgical experience, yes. And pterygoid implants have high success rates, similar bone loss levels to those of conventional implants, minimal complications, and a good patient acceptance. Definitions. We have current definitions of pterygoid implants, and throughout the literature, several terms are being used to describe these implants. But the terms pterygoid implants or pterygoid maxillar implants and tuberosity implants are used interchangeably. Pterygoid implants have been defined by the glossary of oral and maxillofacial implants as an implant placement through the maxillary tuberosity and into the pterygoid plate. So there are significant differences between pterygoid and tuberosity implants, including the following. Pterygoid implants originate in the tuberosity and engage in the dense bone of the palatine bone and the pterygoid plate. And tuberosity implants originate in the maxillary alveolar process and can occasionally anchor the pyramidal process. So the bone quality in this region, as you know, is mainly composed of a type 3 or a type 4 cancellous bone. So you see the literature, you find literature also about pterygoid implants. So when started the story about pterygoid implants? So in 1970 already, Linko, he spoke about it, and he had some superior pterygoid extension. And the implant at that time was described as reaching backwards to the tuberosity of the maxilla, just distal to the hamolar notch, where there is a shaped area of dense bone. That's the point, the dense bone. and to act as a posterior support for an arch with an almost totally resolved crest. Then, in 1985, let's come back to Europe again. There was Jean-François Tulane in France. He placed his first pterygoid root form dental implant. And then in the years of 19, you have literature report studies about Graves, Balchi, Valoren, and Balchigora. And then our colleague in the States, Holzclaff, in 2018, documented the use of a new protocol that employed pterygoid implants for immediate full arch loading. Myself, from 2017-2020, published case reports in the quarterly fixed advanced protocol, and then our Indian colleague, Nag and colleagues, about the whole placement immediate loading. Here you see our publications. So our friend Dan, he published a book about the pterygoid implants. Myself, I had a booklet about the rehabilitation of the atrophic maxilla using pterygoid implants. And actually, until now, the only publications just only focused on the pterygoid implants. So as you know, when we are speaking about the posterior maxilla, and later on our friend Dr. Raquel Zita Gomez from Portugal will speak about this topic also. And we know we have, in this posterior area, we have a resorption of the alveolar bone crest. You have a pneumatization of the maxillary sinus, and then you have a low density of the posterior maxilla. So we have bone type of 4 according to Lacroix-Blanchard. Pterygoid implants do not get the stability on the maxillary bone. They have to pass through the maxillary bone, and they get an average of 8 mm of support at the pyramidal process, at the palatine bone, and then they are going to the medial pterygoid plate. So they basically engage 3 different bones. While the posterior maxillary area is typically very soft, the palatine and sphenoid bones consist usually of type 2 bone quality, and they offer a super primary stability. So, and that is for free. Nature gives this. Jaffin and Berman reported a 34% failure rate implants placed in bone quality of type 4, in contrast to a failure rate of 3% for implants placed in bone type 1 to 3 and type 2 quality. I think my colleagues, you all know this. So what are our options in the atrophied bone? So on the one point, we may adjust anatomy to the implants, or we have to find the implants matching the anatomy of the patient. So the treatment options, you know, I think Raquel will speak in deep about the surgery approach, which are possible, about iliac block grafting procedures, about sinus augmentations. So that is when we have this. And then you see on the right side, we have to adopt the patient's bone volume in size, shape, site, the different protocols. And then we have the possibility of implants. We may work with short implants, we may work with zygoma implants, or we have additional pterygoid implants. When we are speaking about bone atrophy and to take bone, yes, you see the skull, that is one possibility. Open the skull and take the bone. It's there. It's an alternative. Why not? Personally, I'm not so a fan of this. I would not like to have to do this on my head. But it is, yes, it is a treatment option, of course. And then the other question is, what are we doing with our pterygoid implants? Is immediate loading possible, or do we have to go for a delayed loading? And then what is the length? But key point is the anatomy. Here you see the posterior part about our pterygoid region. You see here's our tuberosity, you have the wings of the sphenoid, and here you have our medial part. You have our medial part of the pterygoid plate, and that is the bone we are looking for. We may explore the region by CT scan, you may do some palpatory examination, or you may do an orthopantomograph. So CT scan, yes, of course. We have our indications, and then you may understand here, for instance, you see on the right scheme, you see on point 1, you see the maxillary sinus, you see on point 2, the lateral plate of the pterygoid process, on 3, the medial plate of the pterygoid process, you see the greater palatine and the lesser palatine, and you have the fossa in number 6, the fossa pterygomaxillaris. The posterior part of the maxilla is a set of 3 bones. In the anterior part, you have the maxillary tuberosity. In the middle, you have the pyramidal process, and posterior part is the pterygoid process of the sphenoid. It is made of an assembly of these 3 bones. Another view: maxillary tuberosity, pyramidal process of the palatine bone, and posterior pterygoid process of the pterygoid bone. Another lateral view to see the assemblage of these 3 different bones. The sphenoid bone, it is an unpaired bone of the neurocranium. It lies in the middle of the skull, and it helps in the creation of the floor and the neurocranium of the skull. Its shape somewhat resembles that of a butterfly or bat with its wings extended. It looks really mystical. The sphenoid bone is divided into the following parts. You see, you have the pterygoid processes, you have the body, you have the greater wings, and you have the 2 lesser wings. The pterygoid processes, there are 2 bony processes that extend downwards from the intersection of the sphenoid bone body and the greater wings. And you see each process consists of 2 plates, medial plate and lateral plate. And we are aiming to fix our implant in the medial plate. Here another time you see where is the situation. So the medial surface of the medial plate constitutes the lateral boundary of the choana, or the posterior opening of the corresponding nasal cavity. And the lateral surface of this plate makes part of the pterygoid fossa. The upper part of the anterior border of the pterygoid process bounds the pterygomaxillar fissurum posteriorly, and the intermediate part articulates with the maxillary tuberosity, and the lower part articulates with the palatine bone. What are our anatomical obstacles? Now, you must know, and once you know your anatomy, you will know, here we have a lack of vital structures. We are in a safe area when you know your structures. So you see here, of course, very important, you have the greater and lesser palatine foramina, and you have the posterior supraalveolar nerve. Of course, here is our surgical impact, and you have to know what structures are there. So you have, of course, to take care of your greater palatine canal, and that is the most dangerous part. Here to see, when you have more bone, of course, then your greater palatine is little more deeper, but if you are in a very atrophied maxilla, then you don't have this bone height. You must also know, what is interesting to know, that different anatomical studies show us different form of the pyramidal process. It is interesting to see which type. We have a type 1, a type 2, a type 3, and type 4. So the anatomy of the pyramidal process is different, or may be different. Also here, it is this triangle. It may be larger, maybe larger or more narrow. And that is the point, of course, more bone you have, better it will be for your anchorage. And that is the point another time to have an implant which will match. Artery, very important, of course, is to protect and to take care of the maxillary artery. So the maxillary artery is quite far away from where we will put our implant. So we are entering here at the maxillary tuberosity through the pyramidal process, and we are engaging the medial plate of the pterygoid process. So maxillary artery is quite far away. But it is depending, of course, which type of insertion technique you will use. if you will impact an implant, of course, it may be quite dangerous. So never do technique of impacting an implant. Here you see our nice figuration. You see on your left, you have the maxillary artery. So posterior alveolar artery is coming out here. And here you have the placement of your pterygoid implant. So here, the outcome of the posterior supraalveolar nerve and artery is coming here. So another time, we are working here in this area. And the vasculation of your palate, of course, you know it also. You must take care how to do your flap. And now the point is how to place these implants safely and how to handle and what angle of insertion do we use. So in the literature, you find different description of this. So the mean implant angulation is 74 degree in the anterior posterior axis and 81% in the buccopalatal axis relative to the Frankfurt plane. So, but this, to understand, seems to be quite difficult. And also here, speaking about angulation, you have on the left side here is a virtual implant placement following the pterygoid bone corridor. And then you speak here about 72 degree. And on the right side, you see it is shown, and here is your artery where it is placed. But looking at these pics, anyway, it's quite difficult, I think, to understand. So my idea was to show you in a very simple way how you may find this angle. And my angle, which I always try to use, is an angle of 45 degree to the transversal occlusal plane, and I go with a pilot drill. You see here, 45 degree angle to the occlusal and to the transversal plane. That should be seen in 3D, and that is the direction where you have to go. And you will show, I practice this already now about the last 18 years by freehand, and you will see on my cases how this angulation will work. Another time to see in real pic how this angulation should be applied. Yeah, pilot drill. This is the bone, you see the direction. You go to the notch, to the humulus, and you go here in this direction. And the drilling point, yes, that is very important also to know. The drilling point is 3 to 4 millimeter mesial and buccal from this humulus. And we have a safety length of 30 millimeters. Great. And here you see where this implant is inserted, the direction of this implant. Another time, another slide to visualize this position of the implant and this strong cortical anchorage which you will receive. To my doctors who are doing a training, I always tell them, please, with your first patient, do a stereolithographical model and try to find the direction yourself. And you see here we are working with a pilot drill, and on the left side you see our implant which is going to this direction. Directly, we are going directly to the wall of the pterygoid plate. Sometimes you will not go. You may also stay in the pterygomaxillary fossa, so we will stay in the muscle, but that will be not a problem. So here you see you have a preferred position. That is the medial wall of the pterygoid plate. That is really great. We have very strong anchorage, it may be 50 Newton and more. And then the question is, of course, to which implant to choose. As I told you, implant companies don't have a big choice. Don't have a big choice of pterygoid implants, even they have no pterygoid implants at all. There's only some companies who have it, and then the design were done, I don't know, by engineers, and I had the luck to do my own designs. And I had a company which was a Swiss company Trade, which took my designs, and we could realize this type of implant. So you have different lengths. Also, the little length of 16 millimeters, you may use it in extraction sockets for doing immediate loading. So you see the efficiency of these implants. You introduce them in a hole, and it is really absorbed. It is really absorbed by the bone. And we are just doing it is a minimal invasive procedure because you just use one pilot drill. Because more drills you use, more bone you will break, and more great as a chance that you will fail with an implant placement because there's no bone anymore. So, and then the best length, always what I advocate, is 20 millimeter, because there is nothing to think about it. Go for it because the bone is there and your anchorage will be solid, and you are safe because when you are taking 26 millimeters, of course, that is too long. You may have a problem with maxillary artery, and don't go for less, because more deeper you are, better it is. So I already Balchi found this out, and I only can confirm this 20 millimeters is out of danger, and that is not a problem. So you see, you may also have this position. Here we are not in the bone, but we are in the muscle. We are in the muscle, and all this, of course, is depending from the angulation, because angulation depending also from the anatomy and from the entrance possibility, because sometimes you have very strong muscles of your patient, and you cannot find this 45 degree. So sometimes it is 50 degree or 55. So, but anyway, so you can be also in the muscle, and this is not a problem. Here you see a cadaveric piece, and you see the greater palatine, and also see how is the direction, so you are really away from your greater palatine. Another time to see the visualization. And here, a cadaveric piece, you see this pterygoid implant, which is in the muscle. The apex here, and it's not a problem. You also have your venous plexus. And then here you see just a little explications. You have to do a flap opening, and you go behind the tuberosity. And now, because our placement, we always try to be outside the sinus, so being minimal invasive. And here your enter points will be 3-4 millimeter. It will be 3 to 4 millimeter here to go to the pterygoid plate. You take a pilot drill. The position of the head of the patient is important, so you get it very slowly. And after the pilot drill, you take your implant, and it is a self-taping, slow insertion by hand. And then you go with a wrench, and you may have torque from 50 to 100 Newton, and you finish placement, and it is done. You may go. So myself, I work freehand all over the years. You may, of course, go by guided surgery. That is for newcomers, and actually with all the software with this possibility, is a recommendation to go by guided surgery. But anyway, you must know the anatomy. You must know how to handle it, because if the soft tissues are a problem, or if the bone around is a problem, because very often the bone is very soft, you have to take it away, and then the guide is not anymore in the good position. So you must know how to handle it. So you must know the anatomy. And then you see also a point is how to take this impression of these pterygoid implants. You may do an impression immediately after the surgery. Here in this case, I did immediate loading. Mostly I do immediate loading. Or here, I take the impression. It is, you see the healed tissue, and I did a case by delayed loading. You have a tray open at the position of the pterygoid implant. And here you have the impression. For this, it is important to have long transfer to have this. You have a tray-in of your framework, and then you have a metal ceramic bridge, and you screw it, and that is the position. Here, the screw retained. You need special drivers to have access. And then, of course, it is important. You must always tell your lab when you're beginning with pterygoid implants, never put the tooth on this position 18 or even 17 already, because otherwise it becomes a problem with the muscle, and then it will be big discomfort for the patient. So that is also the point. It must be friendly and well accepted by your patient. And for this, it is important to have the best design to do it. You see, you must take care of your bridge configuration. I want to show you now some case reports. And as I told you, see, immediate loading or delayed loading. It is depending, of course, of your cases. Let's see some simple cases done by delayed loading. But simple case, no case is simple, of course. But by this, I mean just a little segment. You see, here's this lady, a young lady. She wanted to replace the teeth in the maxilla. There was a mobility of the tooth 24. I replaced it. You see, that was the result. Then after we took the impression, that was by delayed loading. We did try in with a metal frame. And then some days later, we put the finished. And here you see the heel tissue around and day of placement with our little bridge. And here you finish placement. 2 years follow-up. So we have a strong cortical anchorage, because here the problem was you had the bone quality, bone 3. So the bone was very soft. And the pterygoid implant gives us a possibility to secure our implants in the front. Here's the position of our pterygoid implant. Now, another patient here, he wanted to replace the missing teeth in the right maxilla. You see there's not a lot of bone. Of course, options are sinus lift or bone graft. We are putting here implants. We went by delayed loading. And here also is the question, find the implants which are matching the situation, or doing big surgery and adapt the bone to the implant. So I adapted this single solution to find the right implants and to do my case by this. Or here also, it was a little bit the same case. Prosthesis, we did a delayed loading. 3 types of implant were used here. And here then you see also the finished placement. And here you see there was not a lot of bone, also bone quality was bad. Then in these cases, I go by delayed loading. And then you have an additional help and anchorage with your pterygoid implant. Here you see, if you see your right side, the bridge was broken. There was any more bone left. Here it was a little bit more difficult. It was extraction, implantation, and I used a hybrid plate here. A hybrid plate is a plate which is hardly flexible. It's called hang. That means hardly efficient, no graft here. I have 4 different plates. These plates are hardly bendable. You may adapt them in situ and you fix them. And then you see you place. That was the day of placement, and then here it is finished job. Another patient, a lady of 65, she wanted to replace her missing teeth. Another time the problem, and I think, my dear colleagues, we all have the same problems. We have the bone, and sometimes the bone is bad quality. So what to do? Of course, I went it here for delayed loading. But it may be a nice discussion, because I wanted to know, or it would be interesting to know once, how would be the success rate with the implants in a bone D3, D4 in the years, how long follow-up it will be. Because for me, in my opinion, doing a pterygoid implant in a soft bone will be big help, and it will be the results over the years, I think, will be better. But that may be an interesting discussion. So here it was always the same. This lady, I did here immediate loading in the front 10 years ago with 1-piece implants. And here on the right side, the problem was the same with the bone quality of D3. So you see, for security reason, I added a pterygoid implant. On the mandible, I did classical 2-piece implants. Here also I did delayed loading, but I just added this pterygoid implant. as it is a D3 bone, to have security on the long term. Let's see some immediate loading cases. This lady, 72, she wanted fixed teeth in the maxilla, but she didn't want big bone procedures, not big bone grafting. Of course, we know what to do in our general implant dentistry. We know the techniques, but here you see, I did this case in 10 days. 10 days after 10 days, the patient got a fixed bridge. And the treatment was hybrid plates and pterygoid implants. But here, pterygoid implants another time are very important because they give us this cortical strong anchorage. And here, please see the position of the pterygoid implants, freehand, 45 degrees, and they're just in the same angle. So for me, it is important to know how to handle it manually. You must know it, and for this, you must train and you must do it. And you just become good by doing it. Learning the principles and then apply it. Also here, another case, you see, it may be difficult or it may be very easy. So the case was done in 2015. 10 days later, the patient got a metal ceramic bridge, no problems, nothing, and the follow-up is perfect. Or this lady, 47, young lady, you see this, she was very disappointed. She had a bridge on her right side. Only the bridge was only 3 years old, and then very unhappy, and she did not want to be without a teeth. So then we had the big luck. I did here extraction and immediate loading because I had a higher torque, and follow up here, no problem. So in 10 days, 3 sessions, this case was done. Treatment option, happy patient. So be always master of the situation. This patient, you see, he was very unhappy. You see, no mastication on your right side, no mastication on your left side. The right side could be handled in a very fast way. So you see, we did a pterygoid implant, hybrid plates, and one-piece implants, and we could load it directly. Also here, this lady, she wanted to have fixed teeth in the maxilla. That was possible. Another time by hybrid plates, one-piece implants, and pterygoid implants. But another time, without pterygoid implants, it would be not possible. Very difficult case to handle. This patient did not want to lose her teeth, so we had to replace the missing teeth. And I did this by immediate loading. 2013, you may imagine, the solution was pterygoid implants and hybrid plates, and the case is still there. Also, this patient, also very difficult, no bone, but she wanted a fast treatment and not too much invasive. So the case was done in 2013. And then you see here also pterygoid implants in the same way, 45 degrees to the occlusal plane, done freehand, and please see the result. And this was in 2021, done by immediate loading. So keep always your eyes open. So of course you must take care of your structure. You must know the anatomy. You must know the danger. You must know what kind of treatment you want to offer to your patient. And also this man, he wanted to replace his teeth on the left side. And the option was this, a pterygoid implant and a hybrid plate. And result after 7 years. So the case was done in a very short time, in 10 days, and all the years there was no complaining, no complications, nothing. This patient sees the maxilla. He wanted fixed teeth. There was no bone. It was a very difficult case. It was done by immediate loading. The mandible extraction implantation, one-piece implants, metal ceramic bridge, the maxilla, pterygoid implants, even here on the right side, double pterygoid implants. Double pterygoid implants, no plate was possible because bone was too soft, and of course also plates have limitations. And yes, here zygomatic implants could be also an option. And then you see the result after 2 weeks here. And here we put a metal acrylic bridge in the maxilla. Also a difficult case. The patient, a young patient, I did already the mandible in 2012 by immediate loading, so extraction, implantation, and loaded with metal ceramic bridge 10 days later. And the maxilla, yes, it is challenging. Well, what may be the solution? So the left side could be done by immediate loading. You see a pterygoid implant in the pterygoid place, but I also use this specific pterygoid implant in the extraction socket of the tooth number 23. So it's a canine because it gives a very strong anchorage. So it could be loaded immediately, but on the right side, unfortunately, there was not enough bone. So I had to go by delayed loading. And then the case was done with this, without sinus lift, without bone grafting, with just using implants. For this young lady of 54, she wanted fixed teeth in the maxilla, done in October 2016. Here we handled the plates, different type of plates we used. We fix them. They're fixed here. And a finished bridge was settled 10 days later, and that was the result after 10 days. Happy lady, because she wanted a non-invasive procedure. And here's a control, no problems all over the years. Another patient, 79 years, then it becomes difficult. You see, more patients are old. What adds the situation? Because there is one wish. The wish is just to eat. And here, also 2 weeks later, the case was done, and he had a total fixed bridge. Here we did in the fry-in of the metal and the metal acrylic bridge of the day of the placement, and the patient was very happy. Or here, another patient of 69 years old. She wanted fixed teeth in the maxilla. It was difficult bone conditions. All teeth were carried out. There was a flap opening, so we opened the flap. You see the bone, there was no more bone resting. We placed a hybrid plate. We took impression immediately after the surgery. We tried in the frame, and here's a finished bridge, and that was the day of placement 2 weeks later. So the lady was really happy. She couldn't understand that it could be so fast. So please, it is a treatment option. And that was the day of placement. And here the situation until radiographic, another time seeing the pterygoid implants. And 1 year follow-up, so no complications. So that is so wonderful. Treating and let's say more difficult cases or boneless cases in a very short lapse of time and not being so much invasive. Here also this patient, I have 4 years follow-up. You see, she came to me with this. Of course, you have different treatment options, but here we took out all the teeth. We put pterygoid implants and hybrid plates, impression after the surgery, immediately a metal ceramic bridge, and the placement after 2 weeks. And a happy patient. 4 years follow-up, no complications, nothing, just a happy patient. Or here, this lady came also to visit me, and he wanted a situation. You see, there was periodontitis. It was quite difficult in 2016. Here, we did immediate loading, and 10 days later, she got a metal ceramic bridge. Possible another time by this type of implants we used, and control in 5 years later. Very good stability, no problems. A lady of 48, a case I did in 2007. At that time, I worked still with disc implants. And you see, 40 years later, how is this X-ray? And this lady is very, very happy because it was quite nearly no bone in the maxilla. So another time without here, pterygoid implants, it would be a little bit more difficult. Then you see, I think it is always interesting to show what you are doing, but it is more challenging if you have the possibility to show cases which are done 15 years ago, and you see the follow-up, and then I think all for you, our colleagues, all for you and myself, That is excitement to see the results and that your work is still in place. Here, for instance, I did a case, 13 years follow-up with total rehabilitation. So I do a lot of total rehabilitation, and the success is just because I have this cortical anchorage. Thinking about cortical anchorage, I have a strong cortical anchorage. I have something strong, and it works. More stronger I have my bone, better we are. And I always want to repeat, it is for free. It is 12 years follow-up. Or here is 7 years follow-up. Another time, also 7 years follow-up. Also here, and see another time the angulation. It is always the same. 8 years follow-up, 10 years follow-up with disc implants at that time, or 5 years follow-up. Yes, here you see the angulation sometimes may be different. Another time, total maxilla, also here, 5 years, 7 years, 13 years, no complications. You see, this case was done in 2007. This is my patient. I treated her already 20 years before with this bridge. Then I put this bridge, then we did perio, etc. But now there was an end, what to do. So 14 years follow-up. At that time, you see, I did the treatment in the following way: extraction, immediate implantation, disc implants, and two-piece implants, and pterygoid implants, and 14 years follow-up. And there was no any complications about all this. So value added, as I spoke, yes, for me, sure, 100%, because you may avoid sinus lift. You have a short surgery, less expensive, less invasive, and less aggressive. You avoid bridge with cantilever. You favorite the biomechanic of the anterior implants. It allows a complete rehabilitation for total bridges, especially for patients with a big smile. It gives antagonists to the mandibular molars and avoids bone graft. Advantages, yes, it is predictable. Predictable success rate and long-term clinical outcome. I may confirm, long-term clinical outcome. No bone graft is necessary. It shortens the treatment and the healing period, and you have decreasing costs. And the sinus is preserved. Disadvantages: damage of the palatine artery. Yes, if you don't position in a good, malpositioning of the implant. The procedure is technique sensitive, so it is a semi-blind procedure through a 15-20 millimeter of bone. So that is the way. Also, the technique I teach, it is a soft technique. As I just use a pilot drill, I have everything under control. And you may control manually the placement of your implant, and you feel and you touch the cortical bone. And that is very important. So you really, the semi-blind, you have a compensation by the feeling on the other hand. Use of surgical splints and model is essential. Yes, you may do it. You may have prosthetical complications, but you may avoid them if you reduce the soft tissue thickness at the tuberosity at the time of implant placement, in order to avoid the pocket depth, because yes, very often you have to do soft tissue cutting because there's too much soft tissue. So, however, it is important to emphasize that the technique needs a special training. But as I told you, I train general dentists in the way in which I put in implants. I train oral surgeon, and I train maxillofacials, and I train doctors who are putting zygomatic implants, because you see, for the zygomatic implants, it is very important from the biomechanics to put a pterygoid implant to assure long-term stability. And then, of course, please, very good knowledge of the anatomy is important. I do trainings. I do trainings in London that were, of course, real trainings at that time in London and in Luxembourg. And actually, due to COVID, we are all here together. So also COVID has some positive point because we have here now online, and I have also online training. So I give online training for Pterygoid implants. So if you are interested, you may have a look. You may have a look at this page. And then thank you very much for your kind attention. I hope it was interesting for you, and you may have now some horizons in order to find new solutions for your patients. Thank you very much.
Well, that was an exciting presentation. Thank you, Dr. Dietrich. Just a few questions. You hit it right on the nail. We're very hesitant to do these procedures because you don't have the proper training, the understanding of how the guides work, and the proper incision protocol. Do you have a house feel unit where you say, okay, this is too spongy of bone, it's a D4, D5, this is when pterygoid should be done?
Yeah, no, the point you must know, you always have the cortical bone. It is always there. It is always there because because Hounsfield, you see, you have it for the tuberosity, but we don't use tuberosity bone. The bone there is not necessary.
No, I mean, when you say that, hey, I'm looking at a ridge here, this D5 bone is not good for root plane implant, for root form implant. At what stage do you say, hey, there's no way we're going to do an implant here, we're going to do a
the point is, you see, unfortunately, sometimes you see just when you're in the surgery.
Yes. Yes.
Because you see, all pics, all numbers are good, but the difference is the feeling when you're in the bone.
Yeah, yeah.
I think we agree with this. So that is the point. So
we have a big problem with D5 bone. You know, we can do the root form implants perfectly, do every step properly, and still won't integrate.
Yeah.
So that issue is there.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then also the circumvention of having to do these invasive sinus lift procedures that push the patient back for months and months in your treatment is also another consideration.
Of course. You see, I think it is important, you see, for us, for the doctors, we must offer the possibilities for our patients and say this. But the final point is, you may only offer to your patient in what you are good.
Right, that's true.
That's the point.
Or at least what you've learned to be good at.
Yes.
Correct.
That is the point.
Yeah, I'd be very interested to take your course and actually take a look at it. I have a lot of questions for you. I'm sure a lot of people have here about flap design, pilot drilling, access to make sure you avoid those anatomic structures, and how accurate these guides would be. Because, you know, we have a lot of guide systems in dentistry, and it's not necessarily always very accurate either if you don't know how to work the guides properly. Or if there's the smallest discrepancy in the technology that created the guide. So it would be nice to learn a little bit more about those things.
Absolutely. But another point, you see, as I tell, for me, the most important point is to know your anatomy. If you know the anatomy, and in my training, I give a very good education about the anatomy, and then it is your key. It is your key knowledge.
Wonderful. Well, Doctor, thank you so much. If there are any questions in the chat box thereafter, please monitor this chat. Your presentation was so well received that it had over 160 shares into different groups, and our colleagues shall benefit from this complimentary quality education that you've brought to the table for us. On that same note, I wanted to emphasize who we are and why we do this. This entire infrastructure that we have built over the last 3 years it is based on the idea of maximizing doctor-to-doctor relationships devoid of third parties. And for those who wish to help us expand, we have just expanded into pharmacy, optometry, medical, and chiropractic. And our nomination process to be on these podinars and to be part of what we call the top 100 doctors, which are essentially educators, innovators, and key colleagues in the supply chain, are predicated on a system that we have built that here I'm going to go ahead and share this with you. And Since you're also involved with a lot of MDs, I wanted to let you guys know that this year, around this time, we have about 6 times the nomination that we had last year. And fortunately, Dr. Henry was a 2021 class member, and we have the 22 classes coming. And what we kindly ask is that any of you that are watching this show to consider nominating themselves via self-nomination or nominating other doctors for a procedure that takes about 5 minutes. If you have products, ideas, services, techniques that you want our colleagues to benefit from, and subsequently hundreds of millions of their patients to benefit from, come on Podinar, fill out the nomination form. You can book your Podinars right here under the Podinar and book it, and get involved with us. This first round, we did it with the AOS, but subsequent Podinars for the rest of the year will be with all sorts of doctors from all different industries, including our dental and our specialties that we have here in a multidisciplinary approach. And with that said, we're bringing our next speaker, which interestingly will be talking about anything but oral surgery, an endodontist. So we have had periodontist oral surgeons, and an endodontist will come on and talk about when you should extract and when you should not. So stay tuned. We'll start back up in about 10 minutes. For your CE, you'll find a link on the side and the area where you will need to go through a process to register and obtain your certificate. Thank you so much, Dr. Dietrich, for joining us. It's been a pleasure to having you. We look forward to more from you at the Academy of Oral Surgery. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I was very honored, and all compliments. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Yeah, doctor. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.